Word tradition. Description refers to a custom or belief passed down through generations. It's something people do repeatedly, often connected to culture or holidays. Traditions provide a sense of belonging and shared history within a group. Phrases of example. First, it is our tradition to celebrate with music and laughter. Second, tradition is the worship of our ancestors. Third, tradition is not merely inheritance, it is creation. Word bother. Description means to worry or trouble someone or to make them feel annoyed. It can also mean to make an effort to do something, but often implies it's unnecessary or inconvenient. It conveys a sense of disturbance or needless effort. Phrases of example. First, you can't be a hero in this world, and you can't be a villain. You just have to bother to be yourself. Second, he didn't bother to ask, for he knew the answer already. Third, I won't bother you anymore. I'll just go. Word ugly. Description describes something that is not attractive or pleasing to the eye. It suggests a lack of beauty or a visually unappealing quality. It can be used to describe physical appearance or even abstract concepts. Phrases of example. First, the world is a dark and ugly place, and it's getting darker. Second, it was an ugly thing, a wound on the face of the land. Third, he felt ugly, and so he hid himself. Word coin. Description refers to a piece of metal money issued by a government. It can also mean a newly invented word or phrase. It's used to discuss currency or to describe something original and created. Phrases of example. First, he flipped a coin, the decision made heads or tails. Second, a silver coin, a promise of better days. Third, I've got a coin for you, a token of friendship. Word urban. Description describes something related to a city or town, often referring to areas with a high population density and built environment. It can characterize landscapes, lifestyles, or problems associated with city living. Phrases of example. First, the urban landscape reflected the fractured state of his mind. Second, she found a strange comfort in the urban grit and grime. Third, the city was an urban sprawl, a concrete jungle. Word north. Description indicates the direction opposite to south. It describes a location or direction. It is commonly used to specify a place or area situated in that direction. It can also refer to a region or people from the north. Phrases of example. First, he turned his face north, toward the land of ice and snow. Second, the wind blew cold from the north, a harbinger of winter's approach. Third, they journeyed north, following the river towards the unknown. Word make. Description refers to a manufactured product or item. It describes something that has been created or built, often through a process. It is used when discussing manufactured goods or things produced rather than natural. Phrases of example. First, a good make is worth more than a bad break. Second, I'm going to make a difference somehow. Third, every success is a make of patience, effort, and belief. Word total. Description means to add up to a specific amount or quantity. It signifies a complete sum or aggregate, often implying a final calculation or a comprehensive result. It's used when determining the final amount after additions. Phrases of example. First, the total devastation of the city was a sight he would never forget. Second, they sought to total up the losses and begin the arduous task of rebuilding. Third, the investigation sought to total all the evidence and reconstruct the sequence of events. Word boy. Description, a young male, typically between the ages of 10 and 20. It's a common word to describe a male child or teenager. It can also be used informally to refer to a young man. Phrases of example. First, he was a good boy, kind and strong and brave. Second, the little boy's heart filled with wonder at the sight. Third, a boy's eagerness is a man's future. Word net. Description refers to a meshwork of cords or ropes used for catching things or playing sports. It can also mean a group or result achieved through connections or effort. It's commonly used in contexts like fishing, volleyball, or online networks. Phrases of example. First, he cast his net, hoping for a bounty from the sea. Second, the web of deceit had ensnared him completely. Third, they were caught in a net of political intrigue. Word actual. Description means existing in reality, not just theoretical or potential. It distinguishes something real from something imagined, predicted, or expected. It's used to emphasize the genuine nature of a fact or situation. Phrases of example. First, it is the actual, not the possible. That is the most important thing. Second, the actual world is a much stranger place than the fictional one. Third, I don't care about the past. I only care about the actual, the now. Word table. Description refers to a flat surface, often rectangular, used for eating, working, or placing things on. It can also mean a list of information organized in rows and columns. It is a common household or office item. Phrases of example. First, I felt a strange sense of comfort sitting at the table with them. Second, he sat at the table, silent, watching her. Third, the children gathered around the table, eager for dinner. Word expected. Description means something that is anticipated or believed to happen or be true. It suggests a reasonable prediction or a sense of obligation. It implies that something is likely or considered normal based on prior knowledge or circumstances. Phrases of example. First, the expected storm arrived with a vengeance. Second, he expected a warm welcome, but found only silence. Third, the expected outcome was not what they had anticipated. Word third. Description refers to the position of something after the first two. It indicates a sequence or order, often relating to numbers, people, or objects. It's a common word for ranking or counting. Phrases of example. First, it was the third day of the journey. Second, he was the third son of the king. Third, she finished third in the race. Word familiar. Description describes something or someone you recognize, know, or have experienced before. It implies a sense of comfort and recognition, indicating that something isn't new or strange. It can refer to people, places, or ideas. Phrases of example. First, the familiar faces of her past haunted her dreams. Second, he found a familiar comfort in the old armchair. Third, that feeling was familiar, yet still unsettling. Word minister. Description refers to a religious official who performs religious ceremonies or a government official in charge of a specific area. It can also describe providing assistance or service to someone in need, often in a supportive role. Phrases of example. First, the Prime Minister seemed to have no other recourse than to appoint a new minister. Second, he was appointed Minister of Education, a position he's always wanted. Third, the minister listened to his complaints with a patient expression. Word copper. Description, a reddish-brown metal, often used in electrical wiring and plumbing. It can also refer to a person's complexion or a musical instrument. The word signifies a specific material with various applications and connotations. Phrases of example. First, the coins were made of copper, glinting softly in the firelight. Second, her hair was the color of polished copper, gleaming in the sun. Third, the statue was made of copper, weathered by centuries of storms. Word hello. Description, a greeting used when meeting someone or answering the phone. It's a common and polite way to acknowledge another person's presence or begin a conversation. It is a basic expression of friendliness. Phrases of example. First, hello my dear, how are you? Second, hello, how are you? It's good to see you. Third, hello there, welcome home. Word flu. Description, a common infectious illness that affects the nose, throat, and lungs. It causes symptoms like fever, cough, and body aches. It's a mild form of illness, but can be unpleasant and contagious. Phrases of example. First, the flu had hit him hard, leaving him weak and feverish. Second, she's got the flu, poor girl, she's been in bed all week. Third, he battled through the flu, determined to finish the race. Word, legislature. Description refers to a body of people who are elected to make laws. It's a collective term for a lawmaking group, often a parliament or Congress. It's used in discussions about government and the legal process. Phrases of example. First, the legislature met in grim determination, grappling with the nation's woes. Second, the legislature debated the bill, a complex tapestry of compromises. Third, the weight of the legislature's decisions pressed upon him, a constant burden. Word, smoke. Description refers to the visible fumes released when something burns. It can describe the substance itself or the act of producing it. It is often associated with fire, cigarettes, or industrial processes, and can be a sensory experience. Phrases of example. First, the smoke rose and curled into the still air. Second, the gray smoke of the battlefield hung in the air. Third, he watched the smoke rise from the chimney. Word, point. Description means to direct something, usually a device or weapon, toward a specific target. It also means to express something clearly or make a specific argument. It can refer to aiming or highlighting a particular idea or object. Phrases of example. First, I need to point out something important to you. Second, she pointed to the sky, lost in thought. Third, he pointed the gun at the robber, ready to act. Word, administration. Description refers to the management or operation of an organization, institution, or government. It can also describe the group of people who manage something. It implies a formal structure and a process of overseeing activities and making decisions. Phrases of example. First, it was the kind of administration where no one was accountable for anything. Second, the administration of the town was in the hands of a few old men who did nothing. Third, the world is not a place for good administration, but for good men. Word, horror. Description, a strong feeling of fear, shock, or disgust. It can refer to an intense emotional reaction to something terrible or disturbing. It's often used to describe a feeling provoked by witnessing or hearing about something awful. Phrases of example. First, the horror. Second, horror of loneliness. Third, the horror, the endless horror. Word, rhetoric. Description refers to the art of effective or persuasive speaking or writing. It concerns the use of language to influence and is often associated with public speaking, debate, and political discourse, focusing on style over factual content. Phrases of example. First, the rhetoric of power, which is the art of persuading people to believe what you want them to believe. Second, his rhetoric was a carefully constructed facade, masking a profound emptiness. Third, the politician employed flowery rhetoric to obscure the lack of concrete proposals. Word, rate. Description means to estimate or judge the value, quality, or amount of something. It often involves assessing something based on a scale or system. It can refer to speed, price, or a person's ability. Phrases of example. First, the interest rate was exceptionally low, barely enough to cover costs. Second, they had to rate the risk of the project before moving forward. Third, he rated her performance as mediocre, a disappointment to all. Word, haunt. Description means to persistently trouble or affect someone's mind, often with negative feelings or memories. It can also describe a ghostly presence in a place. It suggests a recurring, disturbing influence or a lingering emotional impact. Phrases of example. First, the ghosts of the past will haunt us always. Second, memories haunt the house, whispering of lives lived and lost. Third, a darkness will haunt him, a phantom of his own making. Word, soon. Description, means in a short time. It indicates something will happen or occur relatively quickly. It expresses a time frame that is less distant from the present, often used to describe future events or actions. Phrases of example. First, soon, we're going to see the changes we're going to see. Second, soon the world will be transformed. Third, soon, the day will come when you see me again. Word, loose. Description, describes something that is not fixed or tight. It can refer to physical objects that are not secure or to abstract concepts like a general rule that isn't strictly followed. It implies a lack of constraint or restriction. Phrases of example. First, the loose threads of her story unraveled, revealing a past she's tried to conceal. Second, loose ends remained, a constant reminder of the life he's left behind. Third, a loose interpretation of the facts can be dangerously misleading. Word, circle. Description, a round shape with no corners. It can also refer to a group of people or a boundary. It describes a closed, looping form or a collection of individuals sharing a common interest or area. Phrases of example. First, the sun moved in a perfect circle across the sky. Second, the world is a circle, and I am but a small part of it. Third, my life had become a vicious circle, and I didn't know how to break free. Word, analysis. Description, it's the process of examining something carefully to understand it. This involves breaking it down into smaller parts, identifying patterns, and drawing conclusions. It's used when investigating data, texts, or situations to gain insight. Phrases of example. First, this analysis of human nature is both profound and disturbing. Second, the analysis of a dream is a difficult and delicate matter. Third, his analysis of the situation was cold, detached, and utterly accurate. Word, environment. Description refers to the surroundings or conditions in which a person, animal, plant, or object lives or operates. It includes both the natural world, like air, water, and land, and the things created by humans. Phrases of example. First, the environment demands our protection and respect. Second, we are part of the environment, not separate from it. Third, protecting the environment is our shared responsibility. Word, inside. Description indicates a position or location within something. It describes being or located within boundaries or limits. It's used to show being enclosed or included within a space, area, or object. Phrases of example. First, inside every man there is a wild thing. Second, he found himself inside a world of dreams. Third, the secret's inside, waiting to be found. Word, magazine. Description, a type of printed publication containing articles, stories, photographs, and advertisements. It's usually published regularly, like weekly or monthly, and focuses on a specific topic or general interest. Phrases of example. First, she read a magazine, flipping through the pages with a bored expression. Second, he picked up a magazine and began to read, ignoring the conversation around him. Third, she decorated the room with magazines and posters of her favorite bands. Word, indoor. Description describes something located or taking place inside a building. It contrasts with outdoor, indicating a sheltered or enclosed environment. It's used to specify activities, spaces, or objects that are not exposed to the elements. Phrases of example. First, the indoor space was filled with the scent of old books and memories. Second, she preferred the quiet solitude of her indoor garden. Third, the indoor arena roared with the energy of the crowd. Word, create. Description, to make something new. It means to bring something into existence that didn't exist before. It can refer to making art, building something, or inventing an idea. It's a common word for a simple action. Phrases of example. First, to create one's own rules is the way to live. Second, I want to create something beautiful, something lasting. Third, we create our own fate, not the other way around. Word ash. Description refers to the powdery residue left after something is burned. It can also describe the remains of something that has decayed or disintegrated. Figuratively, it can symbolize loss, regret, or the remnants of a past event. Phrases of example. First, and the dust and ash of all that was fell upon the face of the earth, and it was a terrible thing to see. Second, the whole world had become a single, terrible ash, a thing of death and decay. Third, he was a man of ash and dust, and he had a heart of gold, a heart that would not burn. Word, sir. Description, a respectful title used to address a man, often showing politeness or deference. It's a common form of address for men, especially those in positions of authority or unfamiliarity. Phrases of example. First, yes, sir, I'm going to do my best. Second, sir, I am no soldier, but I will defend my people. Third, please, sir, I beg your pardon. Word, umbrella. Description, a thing used for protection from rain or sun. It's a portable, collapsible canopy, typically with a handle, designed to shield you from weather. You hold it over your head when it's raining. Phrases of example. First, she held up her umbrella to shield herself from the rain. Second, he carried an umbrella, a silent shield against the world. Third, the rain beat down, and she clutched her umbrella tighter. Word, also. Description means in addition or to. It's used to add information to what you're already saying. It shows that something else is true or happening alongside what you've already mentioned. A simple way to add extra details. Phrases of example. First, you also have a choice to make, and you have to make it alone. Second, the sun also rises, and the sun also sets, and the world goes on, and so do we. Third, she was a woman who was beautiful, but she was also a woman who was smart. Word, explicit. Description means clearly and leaving no room for doubt or interpretation. It describes something stated or shown directly, without ambiguity. Often used when something is detailed or leaves nothing unsaid, often referring to instructions or details. Phrases of example. First, the argument wasn't explicit, but I understood his meaning. Second, his response was explicit, leaving no room for misinterpretation. Third, the director chose an explicit visual style to convey the film's themes. Word, full-time. Description describes a job or position that requires working a standard number of hours per week, typically around 35-40. It indicates a primary employment commitment, contrasting with part-time work. It signifies a dedicated and consistent work schedule. Phrases of example. First, she had a full. Second, he decided to go full. Third, being a full. Word, hall. Description, a large room used for gatherings, meetings, or events. It's typically bigger than a regular room and can be found in buildings like schools, hotels, or community centers. It often serves as a central space for activity. Phrases of example. First, the grand hall echoed with laughter and music. Second, he stepped into the main hall, expecting a crowd. Third, the banquet hall was decorated with banners and flags. Word, dancing. Description refers to the action of moving rhythmically to music. It's a fun activity people do alone or with others. It can describe a style of movement or the act of participating in a social activity. Phrases of example. First, she began dancing in the garden, wild and free. Second, the music started, and everyone began dancing. Third, the couple was dancing close, lost in their own world. Word, injection. Description refers to the act of forcing a liquid into someone's body, typically through a needle. It can also describe the liquid itself being administered, often used in medical contexts to discuss vaccinations, treatments, or medication delivery. Phrases of example. First, the doctor administered the injection, with practiced efficiency. Second, a swift injection of adrenaline often proves decisive. Third, the serum injection left her feeling strangely altered, disconnected. Word, stab. Description, means to pierce or wound someone with a sharp object, often suddenly and violently. Figuratively, it can describe a sharp criticism or a betrayal that causes emotional pain. It suggests a sudden, impactful, and often hurtful action. Phrases of example. First, a single stab of longing. Second, they had to stab through the fabric of reality to get to the truth. Third, to stab at the darkness is to court destruction. Word, overturn. Description, means to reverse or annul a previous decision or system. It suggests a forceful change, often implying a challenge to authority or a significant shift in established practices or beliefs. It denotes a complete reversal of something existing. Phrases of example. First, the entire established order could overturn with shocking ease. Second, they sought to overturn the laws of nature, a dangerous and foolish ambition. Third, the revolution sought to overturn the monarchy and establish a republic. Word, region. Description, a part of a country or the world with particular characteristics. It can refer to an area with similar geography, climate, culture, or economy. It's often larger than a town or city, but smaller than a whole country. Phrases of example. First, the central region was a hive of activity, its people vibrant and strong. Second, the remote region held secrets lost to time, shrouded in mist and legend. Third, this desert region offered little comfort, just endless sand and scorching sun. Word, crisis. Description, a time of intense difficulty, trouble, or danger. It signifies a turning point, often requiring urgent action and posing a significant threat to a situation or person. It's used when describing a serious or decisive moment. Phrases of example. First, we are in a financial crisis of unprecedented proportions. Second, the crisis was a mirror, reflecting the flaws in our society. Third, a crisis is a moment of truth. Word, failure. Description refers to a lack of success or achieving a desired outcome. It describes a situation where a plan, endeavor, or expectation has not been met. It can apply to personal attempts, business projects, or systems. Phrases of example. First, failure is not an option. Everyone has to take their own path. Second, success is not final. Failure is not fatal. It is the courage to continue that counts. Third, the greatest failure is the failure to try, even when you fear you will fail.